All right. Looks like we are live. Good morning, CJK, True Crime Fangirl. So we'll get going here in just a few. Give it an opportunity to show up. Good to see you. Welcome. Good to see everybody. Just hang tight and we'll get started here in just a few minutes.
Good morning, Your Honor. Continuation of the jury trial in Commonwealth versus Brian Walshe, indictment 2023-0091.
Hello, Clarissa.
Defendant and counsel are present in court.
Perfect
Counsel, if
timing.
you'd once again identify yourselves to the court in the record, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Greg Connor for the Commonwealth.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ann Yas for the Commonwealth.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Tick Cusick for the Commonwealth.
Welcome.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, everyone. Kelly Porges on behalf of Mr. Walsh.
Good morning.
Morning, Your Honor. Larry Tipton for Mr. Walsh.
Good morning to everyone. We had a little delayed start because one of our is juror number 15, who is an alternate juror. I'll see counsel at the side of the bench.
So are we going to get a verdict today or what? Let's see if we can set up a poll, see what you guys think here.
It's important to call law taggers before your insurance company.
What's up, Anthony? Will you guys participate in the poll? What's up, Lola? What's up, Exotic?
Jurors entering, all right.
What's up, Landscape?
Hear ye. All person having anything to do before the Autumn Diane Fernier, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court. Draw near, give your attendance, and shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth. You may be seated. Court is in session.
Good morning, jurors. Good morning. Jurors, I'll start today. Hope you all had a nice weekend. We'll start today, as we have every morning of this trial. Speak to anyone about this case. Yes. Be able to comply with my order that you not do any research about this case. Yes. Be able to comply with my order that you not go on social media or any news media. Yes.
I'm going to say first-degree murder.
And do you all still have open minds?
Yes.
Jurors, you may have noticed that we were delayed in starting today, and juror number 15, who is an alternate juror, is not here today for purely personal reasons, and it has nothing to do with this case and shouldn't impact your day in any way. But I did want to not make mention of the fact that juror number 15 isn't here, because then you might be
Juror number 15 didn't want any part of today's
purely
shenanigans.
nothing related to this case. All right. So with that, jurors, I'll send you back to your deliberations. Thank you very much.
For me, please.
I was hoping to play the
Always be within 10 minutes of the courthouse.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so we're back on the clock. So we'll go ahead and listen to the closing arguments. I think she just came out to kind of give them an update on what was going on with juror 15. We'll watch the defense first. Closing argument. I think this was from Friday.
What could happen to a loving father and a loving husband? We're making line of police for 4 days. Search for the unspeakable on the internet.
Man, he's got a tough job.
Government. Just it wasn't affair.
Even the judge is being like all rude and shit. Sorry, got a lot of commercials here.
Juror number 15, who is an alternate juror, is not here today for purely.
If Brian Walshe knew anything from Wilmington. Money? Second reason that the government suggests? Family money? Money that the
Searched how long
access to the benefit
after somebody
of the
goes missing can you
whole
get the inheritance?
and the future of their 3 children.
So he's motivated by money.
Motive? There's no.
So this is the closing arguments here. Closing statements.
Refusal to consider prison for a terrible mistake he made. The case that began in 2018, he was afraid to go to prison. Who wants to go to prison? But prison was always on the table. And it was just something that he had to face up to, and something that he did. So what would cause a loving husband and a loving father to do the things that you heard about in this case?
Jealousy,
Could it be
rage.
something that was sudden, something that was unexpected, something that was unbelievable?
She told him she was cheating.
Something that only a medical examiner would understand, have knowledge of.
I think he snapped. He might even have
But
blacked
not a
out.
man like Brian Walshe.
He could have even been
Something that
insane.
is logic when it happens. How do we know that Mr. Walshe was a loving father and a loving husband? We know from much of the testimony of Jim Mutlow. We know from Sarah, from Kinderpeter, when asked questions about her experience with Mr. Walshe and the children, that he would show up and he'd be interested in his children. And how do we know he was a good father?
Exotic.
because Anna Walsh trusted him.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm gonna have to say second-degree murder. Yeah, I got to change that because I think what happened was it was New Year's, close to New Year's, and she wanted to get everything out on the table. She wasn't gonna have a year like last year. She's gonna have a fresh start. She's gonna have her boys. She's gonna have her new loving um, love interest, who cares about her, who they actually, have a connection, and she's gonna get rid of this weird, creepy guy. All right, she's done with him. She made a huge mistake, and this is the year, right? This is the new year. I'm gonna lay it all out on the table. I'm gonna give him the respect as the father of my children, and I'm gonna tell him, like, look, man, I've been cheating on you. I'm leaving you, and if we have to go to court for the kids, we will. I just wanted you to hear it from me first. And then I think he just snapped. Probably either hit her on the head with something that was just kind of within arm's reach, or he just simply strangled her.
With their 3 children,
Crime of passion.
24 hours a day, 7 days a
You're right,
week,
Exotic. Second-degree murder.
all in Washington, D.C. The unthinkable happens. It happens in a variety of ways. And the Commonwealth must prove to you beyond a reason that a killing occurred. Nothing proves that beyond a reasonable doubt on the facts and circumstances and the evidence presented to you. There's evidence that he lied to the police. There's evidence that he searched the internet. There's evidence that he disposed of a body. But there is no proof.
Might have been January
All
3rd.
of the evidence that you have heard and been presented,
Don't quote me on that.
that he ever once thought about harming the woman he loved. About harming the woman he loved.
Let's go to Exotic real quick. His story of finding her dead in the bed and panicked is ridiculous. Well, that story's not ridiculous. Honestly, I could see somebody kind of panicking, like, hey, they're going to find out that I know that she was cheating. And maybe I did think about like killing her or doing something crazy, but, it was just because, I found out my wife was cheating. My life was over. I think a lot of people respond that way. It's the end of the world. But you think that they would just maybe take the body and hide it somewhere, maybe bury it, give, some kind of respect, to the body, right? This is your wife. You didn't kill her, but you know that they're going to pin it on you somehow. So you get rid of the body. That's understandable, right? Kind of. You can kind of grasp, wrap your mind around it a little bit, that somebody would make a stupid decision like that. But it's the making that decision, which is already far-fetched, right? It's already hard to believe something like that. But then you're telling me that this guy goes and dismembers the body and basically starts acting like a serial killer on his first fledgling murder? That's the part that I can't wrap my head around. Finding her dead and panicking, thinking people are going to pin it on him is one thing, but then dismembering her body in such a brutal way, it was almost as if he enjoyed it, right? It's a science project for him. And in some weird way, he's probably a psychopath, so he's blamed it on her. As he's dismembering her body, he's saying, well, you did this, you made me do this. If you wouldn't have done that, this wouldn't have happened. Look what you did to our family now. Shit like that.
Did he ever intend to?
Yeah, this is a crazy one, CJK. Very, very bizarre that they would even go through the.
So, when we talk about the affair, when we talk about evidence of finding financial concerns, when we talk about evidence of being ready to go to prison, most poor, any notion that a loving husband and a loving father would, and the evidence suggests there was no motive at all. And without a motive,
Criminal
without
husband,
a reason,
obsessive.
a reason, understanding, without that, you have a sudden and unexpected event that results in confusion, and panic, and fear. Evidence
Drugs,
about
body parts, and dumpsters. You left out all that.
we argue that they show consciousness of guilt. But people do things, terrible things sometimes, not out of guilt, but out of fear, out of disbelief, out of confusion.
Even the judge isn't buying this shit. She's popcorn.
So deep about what he did do. Not just about lying to the police, but what he did
What's up,
do
Vix?
in the context of
Yeah,
what he
this
did
case is, isn't it?
to the woman he loved. In a moment, in hours, and in days of confusion and disbelief and horror.
He's really trying to. He's going for it. He's like, all right, I mean, this is the only way we can go. Only path we have.
But that feeling of guilt had nothing to do with the killing, because he never killed Anna Walsh.
He needed a third-party suspect, I think.
You will hear arguments that you've seen the evidence that might evoke emotion. Heard, you've seen. But your obligation, and I don't mean this, Her Honor will instruct you on the law, and that is not my province, but you cannot base your verdict on sympathy for Anna Walsh. You can't base your verdict on anger for what Mr. Walsh did. You can't, based on the evidence that you've heard that is upsetting and terrifying and at times disgusting. That's not what you can do as jurors in this case.
I mean, they can, and if they want.
This court read you some words. The defendant pleads not guilty. He places himself before this country which you are. The obligation that you have accepted. Passion and without anger and without sympathy, that you assess the facts as troubling as they are, and at times as horrific as they are, and make your verdict rest on the evidence, and nothing less and nothing more.
Yep, absolutely exotic.
Unbelievable, facts that don't make sense at times, something that is incongruent. An example of that is the end of Mr. Jim Little's testimony, where for almost an hour.
Okay, I just want to stop for a second. I want you guys to see something. Could you imagine cutting through somebody's bones that you love and have children with? I mean, just a human. But But I know we have surgeons and doctors and pathologists and coroners and people who do this kind of stuff for a living, right? So I'm not talking from a scientific standpoint. I'm saying just a normal person who usually is squeamish, but now they're so mad and so filled with rage that they're sawing through the bones of the person that used to lay next to them in bed. And then you have this fucking guy
He
right
talks
here.
beautifully about the love.
You have this snake, right? That's really what lawyers are. I don't care if you're prosecution, defense. They're just slithering snakes. Their job is to manipulate an entire group of people. And he definitely has an uphill battle. There's no way this guy is getting off at all, right?
These two people that he talked glowingly about Mr. Walsh. And then toward the end of his examination, he wanted to say something, but now he was thinking there might have been some kind of problem. And reflect upon the evidence that he gave. We had Mr. Walsh on the 4th.
There you go. He started texting people on the 3rd and made the phone call growing to Mr. Walsh on the 4th.
Confusing, where he kept asking what could have happened that would result in Anna Walsh leaving.
To amputate limbs.
The law that Mr. Walsh telling people out of fear. No one would believe him. Mr. Mutlow had a terrible time trying to understand that. And why?
There's absolutely no reason for Walsh. I mean, what would be his
Because he knew
motivation?
both of them.
I've heard it.
Yes.
Did you prepare in front of
Because what he was thinking, why would Anna Walsh leave?
No, thank you.
They love each other. I know them both. It makes no sense. And that is what happens when something happens that is totally confusing. You just can't believe it.
Oh my gosh,
you
it's so
seek answers.
confusing. What do I
Yearn
do?
for answers that make
Like call the
sense of
cops?
something.
Or I
And
do
when
like
something
dismember
sudden
it?
and unexpected happens, something tragic, your ability to come to terms with it, when it's such a tragedy, you change. You change. The evidence of the search, the dark, trouble. Evidence of the search. They began at 4:52 a.m. Those searches. Think of how they evolve.
What's up, Cindy?
Consider
Gang, gang.
how they go from one subject to another in rapid fashion. Searches conducted by a man that is in disbelief, in confusion. 5 hours spending with his wife on New Year's Eve, enjoying life, talking about the future. And then the sudden and unexpected tragedy happens, and it doesn't make sense.
Jeez.
if Mr. Walsh
Oh shit, money
began to make
bags.
those searches
Thanks, Cindy.
with murder in his heart
Merry Christmas.
as a result of murder, then why isn't the first search how to dispose of a body after murder? Because
Oh,
that's
he has one.
the search that occurred 6 hours later.
Yeah, he has one that mentions murder.
And when you know back to that word, and certainly as jurors in this matter, you're expected to react in a way to that. What does that mean? Does that mean that he in fact murdered his wife? But think about it in context. In this case, on these facts,
Want to get away with
context
murder.
matters.
You
And
stuck
so
with
the first
detergent?
time the word murder is used in these horrific searches is 6 hours after they began. And I tried to ask Trooper Garino, one of the forensic specialists, as he called himself, associated with the Mass State Police. I tried to ask him. Well, it's only logical, isn't it? That if you don't get results, you change. And you look at those searches that came and went during this time, and the results had to do with funeral parlors and
Thanks, Cindy.
cemeteries and things like that.
Venmo.
But Mr. Walsh, given the tragedy that occurred to his wife, and given the time that
generous
has
of you. Thank
passed
you.
and his fear and disbelief, he couldn't call a funeral parlor. We need to try to understand, what can I do? Then the searches become darker. They become more upsetting.
Can you
Now the
identify
thought
a
is
body with broken
dismemberment.
teeth?
And there's searches like that. You've heard about them. You'll read about it. And then you see searches that cover days. And there's searches about cleaning. There's searches about how to clean up. You'll read them. And even though they don't talk about murder, they are equally upsetting, because you're thinking, as jurors in this case, he's thinking about cleaning up the basement. He's thinking about how you clean a concrete floor.
Hey,
Context.
Red Queen.
1,034 pages of digital data, 3,667 records.
Damn, a lot of commercials on this.
Taken from his MacBook. Not one record, not one page refers to any plan. Not one record, not one page refers to any intent to kill. Nothing. So keep it in context when you review that exhibit. And search now is what the search now to kill his wife. And that is the government's theory. He planned. He deliberately premeditated the plan to kill his wife. Where is the evidence of premeditation?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
In thousands of pages of records.
Bizarre.
I suggest to you respectfully,
Thank you, Cindy.
you are the jurors. What is the evidence of premeditation? There's evidence of a knife. Seen and did I please have exhibit 201? And next exhibit 202. And finally, exhibit 203.
Thank you, Cindy.
The knife.
Let's see who the lucky person is.
It was
The
above
lucky
the
winner.
refrigerator. It was in plain view. Had no visual red blood stain. And yet the government wants you to think about this knife. So think about it. Don't ignore it. Do not refuse to consider it. Of course you will, but think about it. In a cabinet above a refrigerator. And they first test it with some screening test. It doesn't. It has even blood on it. And they take it, and they should. And then, what happens is everybody loses interest in the knife. Everybody, the Mass State Police, the crime lab. There's no further testing of this knife. And ask yourself, if that knife is to be considered a weapon used, then why is it in that cabinet? You have heard evidence of bags and bags being thrown in dumpsters over a period of days. Killed his wife and perhaps used this knife. Then why was it sitting in a cabinet days later in open view for the police?
Hiding in plain sight.
Was that?
Criminals do stupid shit. That's one thing that I've learned. Why would I do that?
Piece of
Looking further in
biological
the hole.
evidence on it, tied to any killing or any harm. And they simply lost interest in it. You can take it down now. Digital data, talked about that briefly, but there is nothing in that data. All of it.
Okay, the search is for a little bit here. Let's talk about this. So he's right. If he was planning to kill her, there would have been all kinds of strange searches, for months before this happened. But it doesn't mean he didn't kill her, right? There's no reason to look up how methods of murder when you've already done the job, right? Let's say it's a crime of passion. You snapped. She told you that she was cheating on you and you killed her. There's no reason to look up, okay, how do I commit a murder and not get caught? It's only going to be about the cleanup process anyway. So, I mean, all of the evidence that he's trying to argue also supports, a crime of passion.
That searches, we're talking about the life that's embodied, apparently keep track of everything we do, and to some extent, everything we think about. Because that's how the government is using that data. They ask you to look at certain things and indicate and try to argue that, oh, this is what he was thinking. So look at it and judge for yourself. What's in this?
I mean, he mentions murder plenty of times
that
in his internet
demonstrates
searches.
premeditation or intent to kill or intent to harm. You have heard and seen much physical evidence. You've seen pictures of gray slippers with blood on them. You've seen pictures of times physical evidence. The argument is made by the government. Something about it indicates that. But a theory, an opinion, does not make it true. And to suggest something like, the evidence shows that Mr. Walsh went and bought a Tyvek suit, and maybe there's just not enough blood on the Tyvek suit to satisfy the Commonwealth. And so they suggest that some killing happened. And that's why there's so much blood on that slipper and those slippers and all that other evidence. But ask yourself, what do I know that evidence now from what we heard? Every piece of evidence eventually, and we'll see all of this evidence of when they pulled it out of dumpsters and unloaded the bags, and they first put it on damp ground without any paper below it, without any tarp below it, and you heard from no less than 3 witnesses. Mr. Gould from the Mass State Police Crime Lab, Mr. Sheehan from the Mass State Police Crime Lab, and Ms. Salim from the DNA unit. They all consistently said cross-contamination or transfer. They used it. So, evidence. The physical use.
I wonder if there's a way to determine the time of death just from the blood, or the time of death versus when a body was dismembered. I wonder if there's a way to determine that.
See in the photographs, the thing you see now, if you open up one of the bags and take things out, is not representative, or may not be representative of how it looked before.
Oh, he's a psychopath.
And
Cutting
you
up the
must
mother of your
consider
children.
that. So when the government makes an argument
That
based
shit
on the
is-
state
that's crazy.
of the physical evidence as it appears now, ask yourself, maybe that makes sense, but maybe there's another way of thinking about it. And why is that important to your deliberations? Because you are allowed to rely on what's called circumstantial evidence. You're allowed to rely on inferences. And Her Honor will instruct you on that. I will not. But whatever reason and basis you have for making your choice and determining your decision must be reasonable. And if you, as jurors, talking amongst yourselves, find that some of your fellow jurors say, well, I think maybe it means this, and I believe this,
Oh
then you
yeah,
have to ask yourself,
should have put a hung
is that
jury up
inference
there.
reasonable?
Could be a hung jury.
Is that circumstantial evidence built upon inference? Is that reasonable? And can I?
Because the truth is, he's not wrong, right? He's not wrong. He's basically telling the jury, like, here, I'm here to manipulate you to support my client. But the truth of the matter is, I'm not lying. Like, I'm telling the truth. Like, there's no proof that he murdered her, right? It's obvious to the world that he did. But as a juror, you have the obligation to the proof. And he's telling him, yeah, I'm manipulating you. But at the same time, I'm manipulating you right to your face. I'm not wrong, right? I'm not wrong. There is no proof of murder. And I feel like some, maybe even one, maybe possibly 2 of the jury members might fall for that or have that kind of thinking, that logic.
I use that, and should I use that to try to reach a verdict?
We'll shut the camera off. That helps. That better?
The standard of reasonable doubt for all certain.
Might be my camera.
What is the evidence that something violent happened in this house? I went through every room as best I could. with Mr. Sheehan. There was nothing found in the upstairs bedroom. There was nothing found in the sinks and basins, showers,
That's a good
multiple bathrooms. Nothing found, meaning biological evidence that might indicate something violent occurred. There was nothing found in the kitchen other than a knife that they lost interest in. There was nothing found in the living room.
Why would he tear out the ceiling? And does your blood squirt when your heart's not pumping? Like, the only reason there would be blood on the ceiling is either he's trying to hack her violently to where he's bringing his hand up over his shoulder, right? And as he does that, the blood goes flying onto the ceiling. Or he's attacking her with something and the blood is squirting out from pressure. So the fact that he tore out the part of that ceiling, to me, that's signs of an actual murder, not just a dismemberment.
That had padding around the fireplace to protect the children from falling. There was nothing in that bedroom.
Like, that blood splatter
where
shouldn't happen
Walshe
from dismemberment, unless you're
Brian
just being
Walshe,
reckless, right?
as adults, enjoyed their life together and had spent their life together, perhaps every night before she moved to DC. How do we know that? We know that because the photographs show there was nothing there. Even what was characterized as red-brown stains on curtains in the bedroom turned out not to be blood at all. Because we know that because we saw photographs in her testimony about floor that was dug up based on their experience and training. That biological evidence, like blood, can fall between the cracks of flooring and reside on the subfloor. And so they tore the floor up, and you saw those photographs, and you'll have them. And nothing was found. Nothing at all.
Well, let's look at the internet searches. Here, let me pull those back up real quick. So Exotic says the dismemberment could have been necessary to hide how he killed her. Let's see what he was up to. Can identification be made on partial human remains? So I don't know. I think he might have been just trying to, I think that's the main motive when people dismember. I think that's two things. It's easier to handle, right? If you have a large log in front of you and you can't carry it, what do? You cut it into small pieces, and then you pick up each individual piece and you move it. So I believe it's the fact that they need to manage something that's heavy because it's just trash to them. It's an object. So how do they move this heavy object? Well, I'm going to cut it into pieces. But also, I think the other 50% of the motivation is trying to conceal the identity. For instance, with the Emily Pike case, they still haven't found her hands. So I'm wondering if the killer tried to hide her hands for fingerprints or from being identified. And if you separate these body parts, in the killer's mind, they're thinking, well, how do you identify a body from its torso or something like that? But they have their ways, right? DNA. All they really need to do is go get the DNA from the family member, mitochondrial, and they can identify her that way. But I think that's what was going on. He's trying to hide her identity and keep her from being discovered. Let's see. Does the dishwasher clean blood? The hell's he putting in there? Like all the tools? How to saw a body. How long do stores keep security footage? Typically, it's 30 days. It should be more. They need a cloud, right? 30 days, boom, goes loaded up to the cloud. Can you identify a body with broken teeth? Jeez.
I asked Mr. Sheehan about blood spatter, and he forthrightly and honestly said, I'm not a blood spatter expert, but he explained it sufficiently to you.
See, and I think this is the point right here, Exotic. Let's go to her comment. If he had been found dead in the bed, if she had been found dead in the bed, he could have been facing a manslaughter charge. That is true. That's true. So I get the panic part and the possibility of a natural death and then him panicking. But it doesn't match the dismemberment and the concealment and all of that like disgusting shit, right? I could see if he took her body, put it in a car, broke the window, took her purse and like scattered it all over the ground and then just left her there. Like, oh my God, you know, it was a robbery gone wrong. Or something like that. But for him to just automatically go and start cutting her up, it's just a leap there that I can't accept that. Not even
someone wielding a knife or a weapon and causes blood to let out of a body, and you look for blood that has spattered with directionality. Nothing. Nothing in the bedroom, nothing in the living room, nothing in the bathrooms. No evidence that blood drained down the drain. Could I have exhibit 217, please? Per milliliter. 20 nanograms. A nanogram, as he agreed, 1/1000th of a gram. Think of how minuscule that is.
a mammogram.
And they used that all over the house. And so the government elicited questions and answers from many of their state police, the 10 or 20. They didn't call everybody. That's up to them. But apparently there was no need to, because 10 people or more, as Mr. Sheehan had described to you, he was estimating. He was trying to be as honest as he could and credible, and he was. 10 people pouring over that house all day on January 8th. 10 more people or more pouring over that house on January 9th with their tools and their experience, and they don't find anything. Except
A giant hole in the ceiling.
multiple bloodstains where? In the basement. In the basement. On the concrete floor. Ask yourself, when you heard testimony that Mr. Walshe attempted to clean, and so therefore they couldn't find evidence in the other parts of the house because he cleaned it. Well, ask yourself, wait a minute. Is that logical to suggest that he cleaned the bedroom up so well nobody could find a thing?
Guys, I think I'm going to end the stream here and go to Whole Foods. I'll be back.
cleaned the living room up where the rug may have been. And they can find anything.
JK.
Well, then you see those searches where he searches specifically for how to clean concrete.
If you look at some of the contents here, I think there's a robe. Did I see a robe? Right, here it is. This tells a story to me. This tells a story of a woman who, and I'm assuming this is her robe. Hers or his? I think it's hers. Right, she just took a shower. She was thinking like, okay, I'm ready to do this. I feel great. I'm going to tell him we're going to start the year off, clean slate. No bullshit. None of these cancer causing secrets, right? Takes a shower. She's feeling great. He seems to be in a decent mood. And before bed, she tells him, like, hey, we need to talk. Kind of like when you're going to fire somebody. You want to try to find the best scenario for that. Maybe a Friday, after hours, a payday maybe. So I think that's what she was trying to do. She was waiting for the right moment, but it had to be, there's no more time to wait. So she's comfortable, and I think that she told him. And it was a crime of passion. So the reason that they're going this route, saying that he made a horrible decision, he just panicked, he thought they were going to pin it on him, was because that's what all the evidence, when you look at the evidence and all of the discovery in its totality, that's what you have, right? It's just cherry picking. Okay, how can we make this piece fit with this piece to where we kind of have a full narrative, a whole story. It may not be the truth, but if we piece it together, the jury won't know the difference, right? They don't know the difference between the actual truth and then the truth that we're going to fabricate and put in front of them.
And yet, what was found on the concrete floor?
Must go to Whole Foods.
Multiple red-brown stains that turned out to be blood, and in some instances, we can all agree, based on the testimony of Ms. Celine, the profile, those blood drops matched the profile.
See, and this is the most common sense answer right here from Landscape. I think, and this is something that I haven't heard the prosecution say, but this is what the jury's going to think, right? And this is actually brilliant. Sometimes the most brilliant thing is just to keep it simple. I think that if she would have been found dead in bed, the autopsy and toxicology would have proven it was a natural death. Truth would have been on his side. It's a silly defense, but it is a defense. Yep, I think you're right about that. You hit it right on the head.
Of Anna Walsh. So to suggest that concrete floor with hydrogen peroxide and mops and cleaning.
And it's kind of a dark defense too, because his attorney's like, well, if I was going to commit murder, if I was going to plan and commit a murder, like I wouldn't have done it that way. Like I wouldn't have been so stupid. So he's like, my client is an idiot. He just panicked, and that's what the evidence will show. But that's the truth. He is a fucking idiot, but he's also a sadistic psychopath. And everything that he's arguing for also could be argued that it was part of a crime of passion, something that just happened, spur of the moment.
Fluids, only to have blood found on the floor, defies a reasonable inference that he was able to clean any part of that house. important because nothing violent happened in that house, and that's why there is no
To me, the
biological
ceiling
or
being
blood
ripped out
evidence.
is a sign of violence. Now, whether that's him killing his wife or violently dismembering her, somehow he had to have enough force to fling blood up onto the ceiling. Right? So there's violence there, whether it's during an attack or he's violently throwing his arm back. There's violence. It's a sign of violence.
Anywhere in that house. The act of trying to hide the body of his wife and the blood evidence that is seen on that carpet. Carpet. There's no blood in the living room. The inference might be that the carpet was taken down. You can look at the physical pieces of carpet, and you should.
Whole Foods.
If there is no evidence of any killing that happened, and there's no evidence that anything was done before Mrs. Walshe died, there is evidence of lying and disposing of the body. You can take that honestly. So now we look at the evidence, and I'm just going to characterize it. Some of the evidence that the Commonwealth has presented to you, and there is no question that their obligation is to present to you evidence. But I just ask you to think about, in some cases, how that evidence was presented to you. And I'm going to use a phrase that may or may not be entirely accurate, but it's cherry picking. It's looking at
cherry picking. Didn't I
thousands
just
of
say
points
that?
of data and asking you to think about it, but not telling you why you should think about it. And what am I talking about specifically? And I'll give you some examples. We already talked about the hole in the ceiling, but let's talk about it a minute.
Yeah, let's talk about
They kept talking to you about that hole in the bedroom ceiling as if it was of some significance. And yet you recall the testimony of Mr. Sheehan. I didn't see anything significant about it. It looked like somebody might have fallen through the ceiling. And there's nothing significant about the pieces that Mr. Walshe had stored in the cabinet in that same bedroom. I asked Mr. Sheehan about that. No, I didn't see anything significant about that. Yet
Later,
you kept being given that evidence. And then as the evidence developed, for some reason, there's Mr. Murphy. And it came out in evidence that Mr. Murphy had in fact was contacted. And he didn't respond right away, but then he did. And for some reason, they keep insisting that that hole is of some significance, but they don't tell you why. They just thing with the searches. Remember when Chief was sitting right here? Belonged to Mr. Walshe, and he's asked to look at it and says, do you see searches there to go to the MGM? Yes, I do. Nothing else. No explanation why that is significant, why it's important to try to determine if a man committed premeditated murder. You're just throwing that pieces of.
So to me, it's the ceiling and it's the robe that kind of paint a picture, right? The robe, you're coming out of the bathroom. Maybe she was taking a shower, and while she was in the shower, he was going through her phone, found some text messages. She comes out of the shower, and he's just right there waiting with a heavy object. Bam, right in the head. That causes the spray to the ceiling, and he has to get rid of that evidence. That's the evidence that shows the murder.
Evidence. Why? Why were you given? Why was Trooper asked to tell you about a song, a partial song title? And when you go over evidence, look through there if you choose to, and I encourage you to do that. And you see song after song and movie title after movie. The government throws that at you and says, think about this. For what reason? And then they present to you through Trooper Garino. Something about a porn movie. I'll just take up right now to apologize to each and every one of you for some of the best. But it just didn't make sense that you would take that type of evidence and suggest that it has any premeditated murder because there's a word in the title of a movie. And that's what I'm talking about, the quality of some of the evidence here thrown at you as if it means something, that it's significant, and yet here you are being asked to determine son committed premeditated murder by the woman you love.
All right, guys, what's it going to be? Is this good evidence against Brian? You know, proof of violence. So you got a bloody robe, which to me, that's something you wear in your room, right? Something you wear out of the shower, maybe to bed. And then you get dressed, you take off the robe, you get dressed in the morning. And you have the robe on, you might go downstairs, you know. But to me, it's mainly for the room, right? From shower to the bed, shower to the closet. That being bloody, and him, for whatever reason, having to tear out this ceiling. Nobody fell through the wall, right? He's trying to get it repaired right around the same time that this is all going on. This is evidence of violence right here. And I think that's probably what could have happened. She went in, took a shower. He started snooping through her phone. Like, oh my God. Like, who's this guy? They've been seeing each other for a year? What the fuck? She walks out of the shower, hits her with something on the head that causes a spray. Like, it must have been a very violent attack in order to create something like that. Maybe it went straight up. And that was it. And then he's like, now what? And that's when you see everything else. You see the internet searches, see all the weird behavior at the hardware store and all these different stores. The dismemberment. But that's how it all started. And he was happy to dismember her. I think he enjoyed it. I think he was so mad and so angry that he wanted to. He knew that it was necessary, but I believe that he wanted to as well. I think he enjoyed it.
When we talk about premeditated murder, when we talk about planning, you have to ask yourself, Did I hear evidence of the conduct of a man who premeditated, a man that had thought about a killing, a man that had planned? I mean, think about what you heard. And we're not going to repeat all those things I've already said, but I want you to focus on one other piece of evidence. I asked Detective Schmidt, when you went down to the basement on January 4th, you saw some bags down in the basement. Yes, I did. What did you think was in those bags? I thought they were pieces of rubber. My goodness. What's that process? And the plan to walk down in the basement, and the police officer, based on his training and experience, uses, I think he said, his boot, and he felt it, and he said, felt like pieces of rug to me. Rug? That is it. That's what. Think about all of that when you're thinking about it. Did this man, Mr. Did he plan anything? No. Did he intend? No. Did he? And evidence does not support a finding of premeditated murder with specific intent to kill based on the evidence, not based on sympathy. Based on some other evidence. Mr. Walshe talking to the police, and he says, when asked about.
Are you guys hearing this breaking news? Rob Reiner, apparently he was stabbed by his son, killed by his own son. We might follow up on that when we're done here.
I thought were for me, but then they turned out they were for Anna. And so the government seizes upon that evidence and suggests that there's evidence that Mr. Walshe had seen text messages between Anna Walshe and William Fastow. And those text messages between Anna Walshe and William Fastow, some text messages are placed into evidence, and I'm sure you'll look at them. And why would the government want you to believe?
Okay, don't forget that Walshe, who was seeing Anna, he testified that they talked every day. So if she would talk to him and then delete, those messages whenever she was around Brian, don't forget, Walshe said that she texted him and was even with him on New Year's Eve. Was it New Year's Eve or New Year's Day? Just before she was killed. They were together. So that means her phone would have had location data, would have had maybe some expenses on her card, and most definitely text messages between her and him saying, Happy New Year and things along those lines. That's probably what he's seen while she was in the shower, right? When they got back, they spent New Year's together, and apparently she went back to Washington, D.C. That's not what happened. She took a shower. He found those text messages, struck her in the head with something very heavy. Most likely would have been something in the room, right? Something that was right there, spur of the moment. He may have blacked out, but whatever it was enough to create blood splatter on the ceiling.
That Mr. Walshe saw those text messages, because some of the entries in those text messages are very upsetting.
Yeah, that's sad.
They may very well enrage a husband to read about what was going on in those text messages.
Yeah, how convenient,
So
right?
you
All
look
this
at
is
them.
going on, and
But
then
ask
he
yourself,
dismembers his
as you
wife.
look at him, and perhaps as you think, I could see that might upset. That might put somebody in a rage. Problem is, there is absolutely no. He was trying to say iMessenger, and now you know from the testimony, iMessenger. We're talking about Facebook Messenger. But the important thing
Nick
is,
Reiner under arrest.
there is no evidence in all of the digital data that you have before you. In all the digital data that they examined, that Mr. Walshe ever saw anything
Crazy.
in William Faster. And when you look at those text messages, and you might have some question about it, and if the government stands up
What
and
the hell
says,
is the judge
well, he
doing?
saw those because he told them that he was seeing iMessenger, which doesn't
Fidgety.
exist. Ask yourself, why is it that on New Year's
She's not
Eve,
eating her lunch.
Anna Walsh is taking all these photographs? It's festive. It's a lovely situation. And she says, in the presence of Brian Walshe, as she and Jim Mutlow are taking photographs, hey, why don't we send a photograph to Will Fasto? And was there any evidence that he reacted, Mr. Walshe? No. And when asked by Attorney Porges, well, so what happened next? And Mr. Walshe really took effort to remember, and then he said, oh, yeah, that happened right before young boy woke up and came downstairs, and that was around 10:30. So if you just think about that, then the festive and jovial celebration continued for another 2 hours. There is no evidence that he reacted. Mr. Walshe reacted to them sending a photo. Why? Because he knew.
Oh, shit, I forgot about that. So that could have been it, right? Sent a photo to Walsh. He becomes suspicious. It begins to fester, right? He's acting like it's not bothering, but he's already been triggered. And he can't stop thinking about it. He's like, oh, that explains everything. That explains everything. She goes in, you know, he's playing calm, but the entire time he can't wait to get his hands on her phone. Right? It's just been festering and growing and growing. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go take a shower. You know, we can talk when you get out. Like she's probably telling him, hey, there's something I really want to talk to you about. You know, I'm going to take a shower. Maybe we can go talk downstairs. Okay. She goes in the shower. He picks up her phone. And all of this anger that's been festering is just confirmed with what he sees. She comes out of the shower in that robe. Boom, smacks her with something extremely heavy. I don't think they'll find that. But that's what they need, whatever that was. If they can find photographs of that room shortly before the crime and maybe go back and search those landfills in that area or some of the stuff they may have collected, they might find it there. But with the evidence that I'm seeing, he attacked her there in the room, and that's where it all happened.
His wife had a crush on Will Fasto, and it didn't even make him jealous. And how do we know that? Because she told her friend, Melissa Kirby.
Okay, now that's bullshit. If you guys knew that your wife or husband had a crush on somebody, would that upset you? If it would, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. If it would not, put a 2. So if it would bother you that your wife, your husband, or your wife told you, like, hey, I have a crush on this person, would that bother you? 1, yes. 2, no. Don't forget to go to Whole Foods. Today's live stream is brought to you by who?
Kirby was asked, and she said, Anna told me that he didn't get jealous. He's not the jealous type. In fact, I wish he was more jealous.
Vic's 1, me too.
Consider that in the context of
Put a 1.
this notion that the motive for a killing that did not occur, but the Commonwealth's theory of a motive is anger over an affair. There's no evidence of that.
Marriage is sacred.
Dr. Atkinson told you. Dr. Atkinson described to you the phenomenon of sudden unexpected death. It happens. Just because it's rare, and just because the government will undoubtedly argue that that is nonsense, listen to their argument. But Dr. Atkinson made it clear it happens. People who have never manifested any problem before. It happens in athletes. And how do we know that it's not absurd, even though it might be rare? How do we know it's an important aspect of what happens to people? Because the laws of this state mandate that the office of chief medical police officers, when someone is otherwise healthy, they're mandated to investigate that. So there is a statute that Dr. Atkinson told you a little bit about on cross-examination. So ask yourself, is it as unlikely? Is it bizarre? Because Anna Walshe worked out. Yes, she had been sick before. She had been with Alyssa Kirby in the days leading up to this, and Alyssa Kirby wound up having the flu. But that's not what really is at issue here. Sudden and unexpected death may occur because someone is ill. All we know is that it happens. And the fact that someone doesn't believe it could happen doesn't mean that it doesn't. Importantly, though, think about the shock of it happening. Think about the effect it would have on anyone. A lay person that has no idea it could happen. Now celebrating with your wife and your friend, and then the tragedy happens. And you panic because you can't believe it. You don't understand it. And you don't think anybody's going to believe you.
Yellow is cozy.
I want to read all of that image. Something of that. And so what did you hear? We went methodically. Sometimes, I'm sure for some of you, it was a little painful. It took a little while. But we went through hour by hour, day by day, that basically was the life and the experience that Anna Walshe and her husband, Brian Walshe, going through in just the day leading up to January 1st of 2023. And what do you see? And you'll have that evidence. You won't have it compiled in the way that I presented it to you, because Trooper Keefe never saw fit to assemble it in a way where you could really see what was going on. But what do you see? And what did you learn from the evidence? Talking about investments, talking about the future, talking about reinvesting, talking about buying new property in DC, talking about all of that, and it's all in the text. Joking when Anna Walshe was ill and stayed home and told her husband that in the text. And then they joke about it. I'll get you a plunger. And she responds, it's right there on the text. Joking back and forth in the days leading up to New Year's Eve. I'll tell you what, I'll buy the plunger. You buy me a Porsche. And then you see him shopping for a Porsche for the woman that he loved. How does it go from, I'm going to find you the Porsche you want, that speaks once again to the financial issues that were non-existent? How does it go?
Sounds like somebody trying to buy affection.
From that to someone who is purportedly premeditating and intending to kill his wife.
right? So when he kills her, he's thinking, well, I bought you a Porsche. Like, how could you do this to me?
And those texts lead right up until she arrives. I claim, pass it, the self-contest. Once again, divorce? About 11 minutes of talking about divorce and searching about divorce in 7 days of phone calls. And how did that divorce?
Whole Foods, Whole Foods. Not half foods, Whole Foods.
Sir, it came up in text protecting the family asset. They just sold that. And Mr. Mutlow explained that to you. Planning for the future. That is the relationship between Brian Walshe and Anna Walshe in the days leading up to January 1st. Now we come to just the evidence that once again just explains their relationship.
What up, Cheeks?
Not supposition. Not trying to make up what they said to each other. You have that in their text. You have that. Then we get to New Year's Eve.
Man, that lady back here, she really loves her coffee. Look how she's drinking it.
We get to a festive event, jovial, laughter, love, described in various terms, various ways, not for 30 minutes, not for 1 hour, but for 5 or 6 hours. Laughter,
Yeah, that's crazy. We're going to talk
the
about that
future.
after this.
Jim Mutlow described it for you.
That's breaking right now.
Brian Walshe standing the testimony that yes, there was an affair. He
Look,
didn't
Amy.
know it. He loved his wife. He treated his wife like the wife he loved, the mother of his children, until the sudden, unexpected event happened.
It was a crime of passion.
Imagine you are so in love. You support your wife to get a job in DC. You're going to take care of the kids because, one, you love your children, but you want to take care of them. You want to share property and protect the assets, so everything goes into her name to protect it because he has this federal case. So let's protect our financials for the future. And then you hear the testimony of Alyssa Kirby. Yes, she was upset. No doubt Anna Walshe was upset. What exactly she was upset about? Maybe things weren't going really well in the affair she was having. Or maybe she was, in fact, stressed out. Who wouldn't be? They were living apart. She wasn't seeing her children. Now, maybe, it's up to her. Anna Walshe was a wonderful person and a wonderful mother. And that's why he loved her so much. But she had another life, and she went to.
So now he's victim shaming, quite a bit. And I think that's what that's the image that he wanted to paint. Like, I was trying to be there for my kids. I was trying to be a good father. Look, they were with me. And yeah, it is kind of weird that she would allow that to happen. But the truth is, if you're going to separate from somebody, you need to be ready. It's going to cost money. And most women, they're not just going to leave their husband that's supporting them and then go be homeless or living with mom. They might take some time to get some ducks in a row. And I think that's what she was doing. And when they were all in a row and she was going to strike the hammer when the iron was hot, he killed her. I think the sudden event was him hitting her in the head with something. That's the sudden event.
Dublin, and that's another piece of evidence. They want to suggest to you he knows something about Dublin. Where is the evidence of that? And you hear Alyssa Purley choked up with tears, sobbing on the stand, but nonetheless recalling a conversation she had on 12/29, 3 days before January 1st. What does Anna tell her? Well, I don't know if I love him as much as I used to. Those are her words. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it. But I want him to take responsibility. Why? Not so she could kick him out, not so she could leave him, so they could reunite as a family. That was what Anna Walshe was talking about. That's what she was thinking, even though she was stressed, even though she was upset.
I wonder if she was waiting for him to go to prison. Like once he goes to jail, he won't be able to kill me. And I'll tell him then.
And things like that happen in families, but families make it through. And that's what she was expressing. That's what she heard. Could I have heard that 169, please? We are now at the end of the New Year's Eve party. And we're talking about the feelings and the emotions and the state of mind of Anna Walshe and Brian Walshe and looking towards the future. And this is on January 1st. This is on the day that the tragedy happened. Can you find it? I'm sorry, 169. Oh, I apologize. My fault. I'm sorry. Exhibit 257.
Look at the judge. She's like rubbing her glasses on her lips.
And that's the champagne.
She's so weird.
Box that was signed. And what are three? That's one yes. We are the authors of our lives. Courage, love, perseverance, compassion. Those are the words of Anna Walshe talking to her husband. Look what she says. What a year, and yet we are still here. What does that tell you? Yes, they had been through a lot. She missed her children. What mother wouldn't? But they were working toward the future. And one final thing about the state of mind of Brian Walshe at this period of time. He made reservations for a New Year's Day dinner so he could be alone with his wife. And the evidence of that is in these records.
But she went to dinner with
Now, I'm not
somebody
gonna
else.
have it called up. I'll just tell you. Exhibit 79, page 186, record 682. That's the data. He's researching where to take her out. And you'll see a reference to Nightingale, a restaurant that I asked Trooper Keith about. A restaurant that's right on the line of Marblehead and Lynn. Exhibit 59, at 12:27, those records indicate that Mr. Walshe credit card used to reserve dinner for $573.76. So him and Anna, it's in New Year's Day, celebrated. And exhibit 170, a text from Nightshade Restaurant itself, acknowledging the reservation. And those were the plans that he made. And the government will suggest that's some kind of evidence of premeditation. Well, it's not any evidence of anything but love. And I'll just tell you, when you look at that evidence, you'll see that that email was the federal. So yes, did Mr. Walshe lie to his probation officer for what reason? So he could take his wife out for a New Year's dinner, and that.
Okay. On that note, let's go ahead and queue up quick video of William Fastow, the mistress, the mister.
At the high-profile murder trial of an art dealer accused of killing and dismembering his wife. William Fastow, a real estate broker, took the stand today and admitted he was having an affair with Anna. Is on her murder as he met when he sold her a townhouse in D.C.
We quickly became close friends, then confidants, and before long we started an intimate relationship.
Fastow testified that Anna wanted to tell her husband about the affair.
I think she felt it would be a strike against her integrity if he found out a different way.
The witness testified that the last he heard from Anna Walshe was a Happy New Year message on New Year's Day, 2023. He grew concerned when he couldn't contact her in the days that followed. Then he said her husband called him on January 4th.
I pushed the call to my voicemail.
Why'd you do that?
I was in an intimate relationship with his wife. I had not heard from her in several days, and frankly, I was concerned that maybe he had found out and was calling to confront me.
The voicemail from the husband was played in court.
Anna hasn't been in touch for a few days. Just wondering if you've spoken to her recently.
This was the state's star witness here in Dedham, Massachusetts, day 4 of testimony in the case against Brian Walshe. He did not look at the witness at all.
Prosecutors say Walshe cut up Anna's body. They say they later found these tools, including a hacksaw with red-brown stains. Walsh's internet searches allegedly included best way to dispose of a body and best way to dispose of body parts after murder.
We'd had a number of conversations about what a life together might look like.
Oh, yeah. That would have pissed him off. Yeah, I think that would have pissed off any husband. Or wife. All right, looks like we're still on the verdict watch. So let's go ahead and look at the prosecution's closing arguments.
Anna Walshe is dead. Anna Walshe is dead because he murdered her and he intended her death. Anna Walshe is not missing. She never walked out of her class at home on January 1st of 2023 between 6 and 7 a.m. to take an Uber to Logan Airport. She wasn't going to DC for a work emergency. There was no emergency. She didn't say goodbye to her son. That's just a story that the defense, but since January 1st, Anna Walshe has not been seen by her friends, her coworkers, or by the people who loved her. Anna didn't take an Uber. She didn't take a Lyft. She hasn't used her phone. Her phone's had no contact with the Verizon network since January 2nd, 2023, but it was in the vicinity of 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. She hasn't used her bank accounts, her passports, her credit cards, her email. She didn't vanish. The defendant was the only adult at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway after Jim Lulu left around 1:30 a.m. on New Year's Day. After he left, Anna was home alone with the defendant and their 3 sons, ages 2, 4, and 6. This defendant caused Anna's death. And the evidence does show.
Merry Christmas.
The evidence shows you that Anna didn't die of natural causes, but that Anna died a violent death in her Cohasset home on January 1st. You have the photos of those pieces of rug recovered from the dumpster at the defendant's mother's complex. The rug that had been in the living room. You have the photo of Anna in the living room on top of the rug. The photo shows that there are wood floors in that room. There's blood on that rug. The rug was recovered from the compactor outside of the defendant's mother's apartment and taken to the office of the chief medical examiner for examination. And Dr. Atkinson found a blood clot and a piece of Anna's Gucci necklace embedded in one of the cut out pieces of rug. So look at the piece of metal stamped Gucci. It didn't break on its own. The rest of the necklace is missing. This is the necklace that Will Faxall said that Anna often wore. Look at the slippers from the dumpster. The 2 pairs of adult slippers. The dark gray slippers have hair and blood clumped to the bottom. And the DNA testing tells you that the slippers had the DNA of Anna Walshe and the DNA of the defendant. Then there's the bathrobe. And there are 2 bloody white towels. A towel was tested and had Anna's DNA. Why did the defendant throw those items out? Because they had Anna's blood on them. And the evidence shows you this because the defendant was researching cleaning. How to clean blood from what floors? Does the dishwasher clean blood? Is it possible to clean DNA off knife? The defendant still had a cut on his thumb on January 9th, 2023. And on January 1st, before he even went to Lowe's to buy any cutting instruments, an initial stop that he made when he left his house was to go to Walgreens to buy antibiotic ointment and Band-Aids. Then he went to Bin and Liquors, where the manager identified
He must have
the
cut up his
defendant,
hands a little bit.
and the defendant threw a bag into the dumpster. Store is closed. The parking lot is empty. He's not yet gone to Lowe's. On January 2nd of 2023, the defendant went to Home Goods because he had to buy a new rug for that living room to cover the hardwood floor. He did this days before the forensic scientists got to the house and knew that the rug had been changed. Anna Walshe dying a sudden death from natural causes defies common sense. She was in great shape. The defendant told police that Anna was a sturdy Serbian woman. Listen carefully to his recorded interviews, because those are his words after her death. after.
All right, just a quick update here, guys. It looks like they've been deliberating for just over 5 hours. Nothing yet, so we're going to continue watching these closing arguments. We've already watched the defense. This is the prosecution.
Mark Salvaggi told you that Anna had the highest health rating from the life insurance company. Anna had to complete an interview, have blood drawn, provide her medical records, and the life insurance company and the underwriters gave her this health rating. Anna was an active person who took care of her health. Ashley Samino, her bar instructor, told you about this exercise class that she took the morning of December 31st, 2022. And Anna was the type of person, she said, who made others want to work harder in their exercise class. Will Pastel told you that Anna was very active and did yoga together. Sergeant Amy Waterman described Anna's home gym in DC. And Dr. Atkinson told you about the different ways a person can die, and that it is extremely rare for a 39-year-old in good health to suddenly die of unknown causes. But without a body, it's not possible for the medical examiner to tell you the exact cause of Anna Walsh's death. No autopsy can be done. The defendant deliberately got rid of Anna Walsh's body. The defendant did not want anyone to find Anna's body and to know how she died. So the defendant bought cutting tools at Lowe's and Home Depot, and he cut up Anna's body, the woman that he claimed to love, and he threw her into dumpsters.
Yeah, that doesn't
He
add
was
up.
hiding her body. The defendant intended to kill Anna Walsh. He didn't just want her dead, he needed her dead. This was a marriage in crisis. It began with the defendant's federal case. And through the defendant's interview and his federal probation officer, you learned that the defendant was on home confinement. He was going to have to pay over $400,000 in restitution, and the case had been pending since 2018. You also learned that the defendant had no assets. He told Jamulu that he only made $50,000 to $60,000 that year, but he had told the police that he had businesses that were not making any money at all. Peter Capozzoli told you that the defendant's mother had signed a lease for the Crask home, and it was his mother that was paying his rent. Meanwhile, Anna was beginning to thrive. The marriage was beginning to deteriorate. Anna had her dream job. She had risen to become an executive at Tishman Speyer, and she was making close to $300,000 a year. She earned a bonus. And Teresa Marchese said that Anna was a good employee. And the defendant knew this. He bragged of her bonus and salary. She bought a townhouse, and she furnished that townhouse for her family, and she set up bedrooms for each of her 3 boys. But the reality was, her family couldn't join her because the defendant needed the children with him. Being the primary caregiver allowed him to avoid prison. The separation of the defendant and Anna was taking a toll. Anna wanted the children with her, and Anna began a relationship with Will Fastow, which became more serious. The defendant and Anna were growing apart emotionally and physically. Anna struggled not having her children and not being able to be the mother that she wanted to be. This worse when Anna took the trip to Serbia to take care of her sick mother. They passed the holiday first in Dublin before Anna went to Serbia. And Anna bought her plane ticket with the credit card that the defendant monitored. And the defendant told police that he monitored their joint Chase Freedom credit card statement. The MacBook history also shows the defendant looking at the Chase account. The defendant knew about Anna's travel because in a recorded interview, he told the police that she had a layover in Frankfurt, and that connection in Frankfurt is on the same credit card statement. And you can see that, it's right in front of you. The defendant was angry about Anna missing Thanksgiving, and he mentioned it repeatedly when he spoke to investigators.
I got angry about Thanksgiving, and then I realized it was just sad that we're not spending a lot of time together. And she was sad about it too, and it was exhausting for both of us. It was she was away from the boys, I was always dealing with the boys.
Anna returned from Serbia in December, but she only spent one day in Cohasset. And she was supposed to come home for Christmas morning, but she missed her early flight, and she couldn't get a flight, and then she had to drive up. The defendant told police there was an argument.
I did have an argument with her for the Thanksgiving and then Christmas Eve, so I wasn't going to make the same mistake 3 times.
So what did the defendant do on Christmas Day when his wife wasn't home? He looked up Will Festa on his cell phone, the man his wife had just spent the night with. The defendant was losing Anna, and Anna was missing her children and wanted to be them. Anna quickly returned to DC, and on December 27th, the defendant was looking up the best strategies to divorce for a man and the DC divorce laws. This was not to protect assets. That wasn't the search. The defendant told the police that everything was in Anna's name. The defendant had nothing without Anna and the kids. And on December 29th, Anna spoke with Norwood and told him that she was upset about the travel, upset being separated from the children, upset about the defendant's federal case. It was ongoing. It was getting to be too much. On December 29th, Anna went out with Alyssa, and she broke down. This strong Serbian woman who was supposed to be having a fun night out with a girlfriend, going to dance karaoke, instead broke down. Anna told Alyssa that she had told the defendant that he needed to take responsibility for the federal case, go to prison. She wanted the children with her in DC, and she and the defendant had not been intimate.
See, that's what she wanted. I think she was just waiting for him to go to prison. Then he couldn't kill her, right? She would have her kids. So I think she was playing the waiting game. And he's thinking, oh, you're going to take my kids. They're going to have a new dad. And then you're just going to leave me here to rot in prison. He's like, hell no. For a psychopath, it was probably very infuriating to him.
Close to a year. In Anna's mind, the marriage was broken. Anna even questioned if she could just take the children because she had already established a separate household. She said that she was falling out of love with the defendant. And at home in Cohasset, what was the defendant doing? He was looking up the Mazda building and the FBI raid on the crossing building, looking up something that had happened in the spring of 2022 when Anna first started working for Tishman's Fire. Interestingly, this was when the defendant brought up something he brought up in his interviews when he lied about Anna having to leave early for work emergency. The defendant was going to lose Anna, and when he lost Anna, he would probably lose his freedom. Anna would have a house and his nice job. He would likely go to jail. So the defendant pretended to talk with her about a Porsche. He didn't want her to realize that he was aware of the relationship with Will or her ability to leave him. He wasn't going to let Anna know that she wasn't safe. On December 31st of 2022, the defendant claimed that he could not find his phone.
He ran it over with the lawnmower.
The mislaid phone allowed the defendant to be unavailable for 2 days. The mislaid phone allowed him to carry out his plan uninterrupted. And the mislaid phone allowed him to show the police when he eventually reports Anna as a missing person and not have the police question why he didn't contact Anna earlier.
How convenient.
The evidence shows that the defendant was methodical. Just look at how he shopped at Lowe's with a list. He planned it with precision. So Jem Lulu came over for dinner on New Year's Eve, and the defendant told Jem that his phone was lost and it was free. Anna was texting throughout the night, including with Will Festa. This is now the third holiday where Anna was concentrating on the other man in her life. When Jem left, Anna was alone. She was with the defendant, the man she was cheating on, the man she was telling to take responsibility for his actions.
Yeah, go to jail.
And the man who had her children.
Go to jail so I can get my kids and
that morning in their Cohasset home.
start this relationship. He said, hell
This is
no.
what the internet history shows. His internet history, written words. He was looking at best way to dispose of a body. Better to throw away crime scene clothes or wash them. Crime scene. Can you be charged with murder without a body? Anna was dead. The defendant killed her, and he began researching how to get her money, how to inherit, how to get away with a crime. And he might have gotten away with it, but he didn't know that his MacBook was syncing with his son's iPad. The same Apple ID. His demeanor changed during the interview on January 8th when the police mentioned the searches on the iPad. Not because the iPad involved his children. He had already involved the children in his lives. But because he knew he was caught. We know he already involved the 6-year-old when he had the 6-year-old say that he saw his mother when she left the house on the morning of January 1st. The son could not have seen Anna leave the house. The defendant had already killed her. Listen to the recorded interviews. During the January 5th interview, the defendant spoke about what his son supposedly had seen. And the defendant involved the 4-year-old by saying that the 4-year-old hid the defendant's iPhone 13 mini. So, the defendant's phone made a reservation at Night Shade Noodle Bar for New Year's Day. after the defendant told Anna that they were going to have a special party. This is ironic because the defendant was very clear with police on January 7th that he and Anna had no plans for New Year's Day, and the defendant also knew that he would be violating the terms of his federal probation by going to a restaurant on New Year's Day. But let's look closely at Exhibit 170 about the Nightshade Noodle reservation, which was on the defendant's iPhone Mini 13, which the defense just said was deleted. And if you look on page 2, on the bottom of one of the bubbles, you will see that the message was deleted on January 1st at 7:59 and 5 seconds a.m. This happens to be one of the times that the iPhone Mini 13 was unlocked.
And that's kind of around the time you would be taking a shower, right? Getting ready for bed, like, you know, between 7 and 8, right?
When it was supposed to be missing. The forensics show that the defendant's phone was unlocked 4 times and it was plugged in on January 1st. You heard testimony that the phone had a password of 197512. And in the January 4th recorded interview, you hear the oldest child needed help with his iPad password, which was 121212. The children didn't unlock the defendant's phone. The defendant blamed his misplaced phone on one of his children when he said that the children hid it. But it makes no sense that a 4-year-old somehow unlocked the defendant's phone and deleted that text reminder. Listen to the defendant's recorded interview. The deletion is made when the defendant is supposedly making French toast and playing with the kids. The defendant had access to his phone. Context. The defendant also had access to 2 other phones when his phone was supposedly lost. He had Anna's phone and he had the iPhone SE. And in the recorded interviews, the defendant told police that on New Year's.
You said she went and put her phone upstairs after that? After that, she, let's say, 17, then I remember her putting her phone upstairs because then she came back down without it.
Was Thomas came down at one point and hung out with you?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Was this before, during, or after Thomas was participating as well?
Oh, yeah, Thomas went to bed at, he went to bed, then he came over at like 9 or 10 or something. I think Anna took a bunch of photos. Jem and I don't have any because she didn't send them to us yet. But I think she sent one to Will Fasto. So that was when, that's when the photo was taken about. So it was maybe 10 o'clock or something like that.
You know where upstairs she put her phone at that point?
Yeah, on her bedstand.
That's not what Jem said. Jem said that Anna was using her phone all night. Melissa Kirby texted Anna. The defendant was telling investigators a story about the phone. How else do we know that the defendant intended to kill Anna and had a plan for doing so? Look at his internet history. Look at what he did. The defendant set up an area in his basement where he surrounded it with plastic sheeting or a tie-back suit and dismembered his wife, the love of his life.
Gosh, I mean, just think about that for a second. Like, really just stop and think about that.
Then, the defendant got rid of Anna's body. He got rid of her belongings.
Like, how is he not crying right now?
And bag that he told police that she had, that she supposedly left on January 1st. He threw her in the garbage bags, tossed those garbage bags in different dumpsters, disposing of the body in the trash. Chatham West apartment rental, the Claremont apartment rental. And police confirm this with the location data from the SE phone and the iPhone 13 mini. The evidence shows that the defendant did this to hide the fact that he murdered Anna. He could not let Anna's body be found because Anna didn't die of natural causes. The defendant murdered Anna, and then he had to hide the evidence of his crime. In his mindset, in his internet history, want to get away with murder, use a special deterrent. Can you charge murder with a body? Best way to dispose of body parts
After murder. There you go.
When you deliberate, look through the binder of the MacBook internet history. There are no searches of natural causes of death, sudden death, heart attack, aneurysm, stroke, or how to help your children when someone dies unexpectedly or goes missing. The defendant was not sad. Look at his demeanor in the surveillance videos. He's cool and calculating. He's calm. He had a plan. On January 1st, he went to the Lowe's store an hour away, even though there were hardware stores approximately a mile from his house. And when he was in Lowe's on January 1st, he wore a mask and he wore gloves and he had a list of what he was shopping for. He was calm as he helped bag the purchases. A hacksaw, buckets. He used cash. Does this show confusion, panic, or fear?
Kinda.
He doesn't stop there. He went to CVS to buy hydrogen peroxide, and then he went to Stop and Shop to buy ammonia. No wonder the house was so clean. And on Monday, January 2nd, he went to Home Goods for rugs and handles. And then he went to Home Depot, where he had bought buckets with lids this time. Baking soda.
Okay, now this is kind of the reason why a lot of the true crime cases that we cover involve arson or the perpetrator burning the house or the car. Like in the Benjamin Anderson case here in Phoenix, they burned the vehicle. This is why. So they don't have to go through all of this hassle. They just burn the house down, right? And accomplish the same thing.
And a hatchet. And at some point that day, he got a call from his probation officer. And he lied. And he said he was picking up his children. He was able to calmly speak with her. No panic. He had everything now that he needed. He started to take her body and to throw it in dust, as he had to cover up the crime to get rid of the evidence of the murder. This was not a man in crisis. This was a man who on January 4th went to TJ Maxx to buy pants with a store exchange card. He was calm. But Alyssa Kirby texted him on January 4th asking about Anna, and so he called Tishman's Fire a few minutes later and started to pretend to look for her. He called Will Fastel, but he didn't leave a message. He called back later, and then he calmly left a voicemail. No panic. The defendant knew where Anna was. The defendant even texted Anna's sister in Canada and said that she was missing. He was methodical. Look at the text messages. And at 4:30 p.m. on January 4th, the defendant went to Lowe's to buy a can. Comfortable. Not. Police were coming to the house to talk about it. The police think his wife is in DC. He had his phone ready, and he sent text messages to Anna, even though he knew she'd never see him. Despite everything that he had done, on January 2nd, the defendant wrote a text message to Anna. I still love you. Ha ha. His Jim.
Wow.
The defendant prevented anyone
That's
from
crazy.
ever finding Anna's body. There's no autopsy.
I still love you.
Dr.
Ha ha.
Atkinson told you that the medical examiner can't do an autopsy of our body. And all that remains of Anna are a few hairs, some blood, and a few things that belong there. Part of a necklace she often wore, her hunter boots, a black jacket, a purse, his mother's apartment complex. The defendant searched his MacBook for a murder conviction without a body. Please do not allow the defendant's self-serving act of dismembering and disposing of Anna's body to let him get away with this murder.
Damn. Hopefully you guys voted. So no verdict yet. Still kind of waiting. Let's check in on what's going on with Rob Reiner. Let's pull up this
Investigating now the shocking deaths of legendary director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle, found dead in their Los Angeles home yesterday. The couple was killed in what authorities are calling apparent homicides. In a late night press conference, the PD, though they are not currently searching for anyone of the suspects, at that point they were seeking a search warrant investigation.
His son is under
Issues
arrest.
near the home in Los Angeles and joins us now. Stephanie, what are you hearing?
Actually, we're looking for answers to so many questions that people have here. And obviously, we're not getting them as quickly as people would like. We can see back here behind me, we've got police lights, and down there we can see the investigation where those clear lights are down there in the distance. Just a seismic loss, not just for Hollywood, but also for a lot of people outside
right there
of this
near
industry
where
as
O.J.
well.
Simpson
Look at how
killed
much
Nicole.
the Reiners have contributed to what has produced here in California and in the country. So lots
With
of
a
questions
knife.
on what has happened here. What we do know, as we heard from the LAPD Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, is that there are still more steps before we get more answers. Take a listen.
Chief, why are you not exactly looking for a suspect? Are you confident you know who did this?
We have not identified a suspect at this time.
Well, then shouldn't you be looking
Right.
for
Determined. So I need everyone to understand something. In order to comply with the legal process, before we do anything here, we have to get a search warrant because there are issues regarding standing at this residence. So as long as those legal requirements are met, we can continue the investigation.
And then keep in mind that it is just after 4 o'clock in the morning here in Los Angeles. So still going to take some time since we were in the overnight, but we do know that the
That's
first
so crazy.
call came in the afternoon.
True
Local
crime can
time
strike anytime.
yesterday about this loss. And we
You
are
have-
seeing more come out
and
speaking
mental
about
health
this,
is a
but
big one.
obviously this entire
Drug
community
abuse.
and the industry as whole are shaken today by this news. Kate?
Yeah, and just talk about that reaction that has been coming in. I mean, just shocking is often an overused word, and this is absolutely a shock.
Yeah, titan of industry, an overused term, but it really does apply here. I mean, you're talking about a man who shot to fame because of being an actor on All in the Family, who went on thinking he was going to be single and then ended up meeting Michelle, singer, and they got married and were together for over 30 years, both of them working together and have their own project. And so many of Rob Reiner's movies are quotable. You know, you think of Princess Bride, you can think of lines from that. You can think of All in the Men. You can think of
It's a great movie.
the way people remember his movies. And you're seeing
Love
that
that
play
movie.
out. And so who we've heard from today. I mean, we've heard from the governor of California, Governor Gavin Newsom, saying he is heartbroken. That's the same word that we Barack Obama used as well. We've heard from Kamala Harris and others who reach out now to let people know just how huge of a loss this is.
My family confessed to CNN that Reiner and his wife, singer Reiner, were both found dead. Detectives are investigating an apparent homicide at their home after
Oh shit! I didn't know his
finding
wife.
identities of the victims.
We have not at this time. We're going to try and speak to every family that we can to get to the facts of this investigation.
Reiner's career in Hollywood stretched decades. He was a prolific director with titles including Sally and A Few Good Men. CNN entertainment reporter Lisa Respers France.
All of those
joins
are
me
good.
Now, Lisa, it's fair to say this is an absolute shock nationally, but as well as for the Hollywood community. Can you talk about what you've been hearing overnight?
Yeah, what we've been
I don't
hearing
know.
is
Good
people
question.
are devastated. As you said, shock is most going to be used when it comes to Rob Reiner is range. He had such an incredible range. He worked with so many people. Christopher Guest and his wife, Jamie Lee Curtis. Christopher Guest, of course, was in This Is Spinal Tap. They released a statement expressing their condolences and their shock. People are just mourning him greatly because he's so beloved, so well known. One of my friends said he's got to be the most popular Nepo baby ever because he went above and beyond what people expected of him. He continued by the way. You know, he was just in season 4 of The Bear. He's in the
Billy
sequel
Crystal.
to
Hello.
Spinal Tap 2, which just came out. And
Yeah, it looks like he did finish
really
Spinal Tap.
loved making movies and just looking at
Looks like
that
it
list
comes
of
out
films,
2025.
just banger after banger after banger. Just people loved what he produced, and they also are leaning into his love story with his wife because they met on the set of When Harry Met Sally, and he said, Audie, that he changed the ending of the movie and made it more hopeful and romantic because initially they were not supposed to be a couple, but after he met her, it sounded like it was love at first sight for him. And
That's
I mean, he was
sweet.
inspired to change the end into that loved movie. So we know how they were partners, not
It's
just in
romantic.
church, but also in closely together. And people.
Yeah, she had been a photographer, and when they did meet, he also had praised his. He was very well known in political circles, especially among Democrats. I think the governor, Gavin Newsom, actually released a statement saying Rob was a passionate advocate for children and for civil rights, taking on big tobacco, to fighting for marriage equality, to serving as a powerful voice in early education. Can you talk about her and their partnership in activism?
Yes, they both were very passionate about people and especially the disenfranchised. And we see with Nancy Pelosi coming out and calling them dear friends and talking about their passion for others. President Obama released a statement. So they were extremely well known in political circles, but also because they really stood up for others. They believed in helping people that they felt were not getting a fair shot, not getting a fair chance. And they were both equally passionate about doing that type of work and being outspoken about it. Neither one of them were shrinking violets when it came to their beliefs. And so they're being hailed not just for the work that they did, but also for the compassion that they led with in their lives.
You know, Lisa, these are people.
Yeah, that's shocking. That is shocking. All right, let's see where we're at here, because we are running out of time, but I'm hopeful that with this verdict here, verdict is in. So like I said, perfect timing. I had a feeling, that intuition. So it looks like the verdict is in now. Let's see what we got. He helped his son do a short film on addiction, etc. Did you guys vote on the poll? Let me go see where you guys are at on that. I forgot to put up there hung jury. So that's
Creators, stop paying for tools that don't.
That's my bad. So if you think it's going to be a hung jury, put degree murder is what it's going to be, I think. I hate soul suckers. Woohoo. I was surprised it went past Friday. Glad they came back already. Yeah, verdict is in. I timed it just perfectly. Thank you so much. Hit the like button. Let's check out this poll here. It could be first degree murder. It could be, but I think it's going to be second degree. Guys, verdict is in. Second degree murder, I think. Crime of passion. Yeah, 5 hours and 45 minutes of deliberation. I think what they were arguing about was probably first degree murder or second degree murder, right? There's not enough evidence of pre-planning, but plenty of evidence they committed the murder, and it was probably because he found out that she was cheating, and then it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. That's why it seems so chaotic and disorganized. I think that's what the jury's going to see. Like it's very opportunistic, right? Rage. Probably grab something off the counter and hit her with it. Boom. And that's why he tried to cut the ceiling out.
Entering, all rise.
He already.
Will the
jury, jurors, and the defendant, please remain standing. Everyone else in the courtroom may be seated.
Your Honor, may I inquire?
You may.
Mr. Foreperson, in the matter of the Commonwealth versus Brian Walsh, have the deliberating jurors reached a unanimous verdict?
We have.
Thank you, sir. If you could hand that to the court officer, please.
Get that anxious feeling.
Your Honor, may the verdict be recorded.
It may.
Mr. Foreperson, in the matter of the Commonwealth versus Brian Walsh, Norfolk Superior Court Criminal Indictment Number 2023-0091. As to count one, wherein the defendant
Yep.
Brian Walsh is charged with murder in the first degree, what say the jury? Is the defendant guilty or not?
Not guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty. or
Oh,
not?
guilty.
Murder in the first degree.
Murder in the first degree, so say you, Mr. Foreperson.
I do.
Guilty of murder in the first degree, so say all deliberating jurors.
I do.
Thank you. If you could hand that back
Holy
to the court
shit.
officer, please.
This time we move to poll the.
The juror may be polled.
Thank you.
First degree murder.
Juror number one, juror in seat number one, as to the verdict of murder in the first degree, is that a verdict?
Yes.
Juror number two, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number three, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number four, as to the charge of murder in the first degree, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Mr. Foreperson, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 8, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 9, is that your verdict?
Yeah, interesting.
Juror in seat number 10, is that your verdict? Juror in seat number 13?
Yes.
Is that your verdict?
Yes.
Juror in seat number 14, is that your verdict?
Yes.
And last juror, is that your verdict?
Yes.
Do they have the
Your
death penalty
jurors
there?
answer affirmatively that the guilty of first degree is their verdict.
The verdict may be recorded. Please
Thank
be
you.
seated.
Seated.
Jeez. They're gonna put him to
Jurors, I
death.
want to thank you for your service on this case. I know that it went a little bit more quickly than we were expecting, but your service has been substantial. We're in the third week of this trial, and I appreciate all you did to be obedient.
Yep. Goodbye.
to the rules that I placed on
See if
you
he survives
and
prison.
For your conscientious service.
Not likely.
in this case. I will be back to meet with you privately in a moment. You should feel a weight lifting off of you right now, because I'm releasing the view of those requirements. You can talk to anyone about this case, or no one at all. You can do whatever research you wish to do about the case, or not at all.
Yep. It's a tough job either way.
You go back on social media if you want, news media. And I'm supposed to release you from that burden of being open-minded. But I hope you always go through your lives with open hearts.
Yeah,
and
now you can
minds,
speculate.
New experiences, and new people. I'll be back in just a minute to meet with all of you privately. Thank you very much, jurors.
Jurors exiting, all rise.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. I appreciate you guys hanging out for today's live stream on the Brian Walsh Verdict Watch. There you have it. He is guilty. First degree murder. They didn't hesitate. They deliberated for almost 6 hours today, most likely just arguing whether or not to charge him with second degree or first degree. And there you have it. The verdict is in. The man is guilty of first degree murder. He absolutely killed his wife. Nobody in their right mind is going to walk in and see a natural death and decide, well, the logical thing is, to protect myself is to dismember this person. Right? It's just preposterous. They did their best to cherry pick and present a defense that the evidence backed up, which they did. It just wasn't based in reality. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. And if you're part of the replay crew, you know what to do. Drop a comment and we'll get back to you. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.